Hi everyone, this is a quick foam roller routine you can do for a little neck and shoulder tension. I'll try to keep it real quick. So let's take your roller kind of sideways, and we're going to lie down and essentially use the foam roller as a pillow, bringing it right underneath the base of the skull. You can hold on so that it doesn't slide, of course. And just start with a gentle rolling of the head side to side, kind of massaging right across the base of the skull. And just breathing fully in and out as you do. As you're rolling, you probably notice a couple of protuberances at the base of the skull where we have a lot of muscular attachments. So let's turn your head to one side, kind of landing on top of one of those spots there. And then just start nodding the head yes. So the massage is kind of going up and down that one side of the base of the skull. Let's try to inhale and lift the chin toward the ceiling slightly, and exhale, let the chin release toward your chest. Inhale, lifting the chin slightly. Exhale, release toward the chest. And let's stay on this side and start to make some circular motions, kind of rolling circles right around that little protuberance at the base of the skull, with all the muscle attachments. And of course we'll circle in one direction for a few rounds and then take it in the other direction. If drawing that circle is a little tricky for you, you could think of like drawing a circle with the tip of your nose. Okay, let's roll to the other side. Again, taking a gentle nodding yes, maybe inhaling as you lift the chin slightly, and exhaling as the neck lengthens and the chin drops toward the chest. Inhale, chin lifts gently, and exhale, drop the chin to the chest. And just continue to nod yes. You can make some little micro adjustments, like slightly rolling to the side more, rolling slightly toward the center more. And then let's draw those little circles. And in the other direction, of course. And then let's come right to the center of the back of the head here. And just inhale and ever so slightly lift the chin toward the ceiling. So we're shortening the back of the neck just a little. And then exhale, let the chin drop toward the chest, the back of the neck lengthens. I will sometimes even just gently push the roller away from me to give me a little traction in the back of the neck. And inhale, chin toward the ceiling. And exhale, the chin drops, the neck lengthens. And a few more of those. Inhaling to lift the chin. Exhale to lengthen the neck. And once more, inhale to lift the chin. And exhale to lengthen the back of the neck. Okay, let's take a few more reps of just rolling side to side. Sometimes I notice a softening the second round here. Not always. Every day's different. Okay, let's roll to the side, press up to seated, and just bring this foam roller a little bit closer to you. We'll take it underneath the back, behind the rib cage, and hands are going to support the head. If you have a lot of hair or a hood, you definitely want to hold on to it so you don't get pinned down. And then using the legs, we're going to just lift the hips off the floor and just start rolling up and down the spine. And you can make this a big roll, but if you go too far, it starts to feel like working out rather than just taking massage. If you bring your elbows together in front of you, it'll spread the shoulder blades on the back a little, kind of exposing more musculature to the foam roller. And if you lift your hips up high, you can kind of roll over top of the shoulder blade and try to reach some of those attachments that are that participate in shoulder shrugging. And I'm just going to assume if you're watching these videos, that you probably do that a little bit. Okay, if you're desiring a little more intensity, let's just shift your weight onto one side. So as you roll up and down, you're kind of getting between the spine and the shoulder blade, right along that medial angle of the shoulder blade. And of course, if you chose to go to the side, let's do the other side. And just check in with your breath, making sure we're not holding back on the inhale and the exhale. And again, I always like to come back to the middle for a few more rounds. Okay, so bring the foam roller just behind your shoulder blades, or like on the bottom angle of the shoulder blades, and just lower your bum to the floor. And I'm going to scooch away from my couch a little bit here. Alright, so supporting the head with the hands, I always recommend finger pads to the base of the skull, or behind the skull, rather than clasping and rather than being at the base of the skull, which often will encourage us to actually drop the head back a little too dramatically. So finger pads behind the skull. And we're going to curl up a little bit, bringing the bottom ribs toward the floor. And I don't want you to get really grippy and aggressive here, but just gently keep the bottom ribs hugged down and toward the floor. And we're going to release the back of the skull toward the floor on the other side of the foam roller, trying to nudge the upper vertebrae out of that forward bent position that we tend to get stuck in. Okay, so we're going to curl up, hug the bottom ribs toward the floor, and then release the back of the skull toward the floor on the other side of the roller. Sometimes I'll even do this with one hand behind the head, the other hand monitoring those bottom ribs. This also gives you a pretty nice opening in the armpit and the shoulder. And if I am doing it that way, then I often will switch from side to side to make sure I get that shoulder opening on both sides. Okay, so let's come on up and change the orientation of the foam roller here to long ways. And there's really no graceful way to do it, but we're just going to take a seat up on the end of the foam roller here. And especially if you're tall, you want to really make sure you're scooched all the way to the edge, so that when you roll down, your head is supported by the foam roller rather than just falling off. And you can take your feet and your hands as wide as you need to, so balance isn't an issue. And just take a second to breathe and let the ribs settle toward the foam roller. Let the back of the skull feel nice and heavy on the roller. And then just moving with gravity, we're just going to let one ear lower toward the floor. And we'll just gently roll the head side to side across the foam roller. So I prefer to do this without sliding the head on the roller personally, but you could actually, slide and let the nose go toward the floor a little more than the ear. I'll leave it up to you, whatever feels right. But definitely don't push into the stretch. This is your neck after all. We want to be gentle. And then let's float the nose toward the ceiling. Stretch your arms long at your sides. Let's take an inhale to float the arms toward the ceiling and above the head, but without popping these bottom ribs off. And exhale, just open and circle the arms, letting the chest widen and stretch a little. Inhale, hands float toward the ceiling and above the head without popping the ribs off. And exhale, open and circle. If you can drag your fingers on the floor through the circle, go for it. When I first started doing such things, my hands were nowhere near the floor, so if you're not reaching, don't worry about it. And then this time, let's float the arms toward the ceiling and above the head toward the floor. Again, just preventing the ribs from popping off. And then we're going to bend the elbows toward the feet and find an angle close to 90 degrees at the elbow and the armpit to find a pec stretch. And you can toy with this. For me, if I take my elbows a little lower, I get a kind of a more of a stretch that feels like I need it. Or you could come up a little higher, or you could just move those elbows up and down and kind of move through the fibers of the pecs as we, you know, reach and lower. Okay, there you have it. This is probably the first of many videos, so tune back in.